Okay, let's see if I can explain this and how I did it, Ron. These are my two pulleys, as you've seen maybe in some other pictures, right? And the belt runs out the whole length of the machine, comes back, circles over this one, goes to the drive, and circles back along this one to the other end, where it's just pulled. And I pull these tight myself. So this guy and this guy are set up to freewheel. I'll show you how that's set to freewheel. I put a pulley on here that actually can spin freely. You know, let's see as I dial it. Hard to do here. Hang on. I'll grab the big pulley. So you can see as I turn that, the whole unit moves. So what I actually did was these two nuts right here, they're jammed together so that I have this spacer, which actually moves freely, up against this, up against the head of the bolt, which has another one. Just a little washer. That's all they are. And that holds this guy from wobbling left and right, except for a little tiny bit. And the two jam nuts are situating, the two jam nuts situate the depth of this. And it goes all the way through a hole, and it is just nutted right here. The back nut and the front jam nut hold against the plate. The two jam nuts jam against each other to hold this depth so that it doesn't get away. Again, the only issues I would have is whether or not these guys spinning on this bolt would wear out. Like I said, I can drop a little drop of oil on either side of this, and the RPMs aren't going to be that high. Now, in the best world, this would all have a cover plate on it, just like the Silva plans, that would all hold this very stout. And in my drawings that I posted, what I would really suggest is, you can see I put a bearing right here. For this shaft, I would put a bearing here and a bearing out here, and then another bolt outside of the plate. And then I would again cut the hole here to match this, put a bearing out here, a bearing in here, and then, you know, get this guy situated in between. Same with that one. So then I would end up with the whole thing plated. Bearings are what you would see on the outside, like you would see this bearing, just times 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And this is my pulley, which is just a reverse of this guy. These are the teeth, the 14 tooth. It's the same one that I use up here, which I had to drill it out for that 1/2 inch shaft. And then you can see how this is the four bearings with a jam nut set on top. The jam nuts just keep this so that, you know, there's only a little bit of play, not really any there. And this doesn't really creep on me, so I don't have to have, you know, sidewalls on it. And you can see the slot. That's so I can set the depth of adjustment there to tighten this up. Works pretty good even at high speeds. And if I wanted to adapt this right here, this whole solution, I would just repeat this build. See if I can give you a little more view on that build. You can see down in there. Let's see. Yeah, even the last one, free wheels. The hub, the inner portion, runs against the nuts. This nut and the one below it, down in there. Let's see, there it is. You can see the shaft comes all the way through. They pinch to the plate, and then these two jam nuts hold these guys against that one. A little loose, but nothing, you know, it's like barely anything, maybe a 100th of an inch, maybe a 1,000th of an inch, who knows, because they don't barely move. But I would repeat this stack and then put it in these spots if I wasn't worried about the belt walking off. And I don't think it would, because it's pretty straight. I have this about narrowed straight. And I could even add a washer of this size to the outside of this stack on either side that would always prevent the belt from doing it. So that's another quick and dirty, and you don't have to drill a gargantuan hole like that for the bearing. You just put the shaft there. You just put a shaft there. You put the bearings on it, and you put a cap, you know, a washer, 5/16 hole on it on either side of a couple of the bearings, so that it would keep it from getting outside of it, and the bearings would act like that. Plus, it's much easier to slot, you know, 5/16 or 3/16, whatever this is, like I did up here. It's much easier to slot that for adjustments than it would be to try to slot a ginormous solution. And I would slot, you know, the plate to match it. Just for one of them, I would slot, so I could move it in and out and do tension. I could build this up a whole lot more. I could put a spring on that sucker and a dial and make constant tension no matter how much this starts loosening up or within, you know, a certain amount of tolerance. But, you know, I'm just doing my first builds. I'm still working on a lot of this stuff, so I haven't figured it out totally. In any case, I hope some of these pictures have worked out. Hope you get a lot to view here, and you can see how I've managed to put a lot of the stuff together so that it works.